Hey, I'm Brian, your friendly neighborhood furniture maker, and I am having the great honor of being joined today by my friend and colleague, Mr. Kurt Dietrich from Create Architecture in Regina. Kurt, how you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. The
Thank
rain
you.
stopped. I'm happy.
Yeah, very nice to hear. And no snow happening in Regina right
No
now.
snow tonight either. Yes. What a good day. Yes.
Sounds like a great day. Great day to talk about a project from the past that we worked on. I was hanging out at a show that I was doing, and this gentleman sitting with me now came in and unrolled plans for a table that I ended up building. It's a very special table. We're going to talk about it today. Um, do we have a picture that we can pop up
I
of this?
do. I have a drawing of the table. So let me just share this. That show was at the Ackerman building.
Is that where Bushwhacker is?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was. It was a great, great little. It was a little studio that the proprietor decided to let us have an art show in there. It was really
So you
cool.
should be able to see the drawing of the table. Can you see that?
Hey, there it is. Look at that. Those are the blueprints.
Okay.
I have those blueprints hanging up in my shop still to
See
this
it?
day.
I've switched to the picture. Did it make the switch?
I'm still looking at blueprints, but
Okay.
they're still pretty spectacular.
I may have to stop the share and switch by just sharing the picture itself. There's the picture.
There it is in the garage, the
Yeah.
place where the table was born. Thankfully, my parents let me work in their garage, as you remember when we were doing this thing, because if I would have built that table in the shop that I
Very
was
kind of
working in
them.
at the time,
Very
uh,
nice of them.
it was very nice of them, and very nice of my dad to help out on building this too. Thanks, Dad, for your help on that. But yeah, if I would have built it in my shop, I wouldn't have been able to get it out because that is a
Well,
10-foot
yeah,
table.
we talked about having to do it in your shop and making it in pieces and then doing some joinery. And I think we both agreed that would suck.
That was a pretty short conversation.
That
So yeah,
was, yeah, not going to work.
thanks to Blaine and Darlene for the use of the garage, which is where that completed piece is right there. What a beautiful piece. Kurt, tell us a little bit about this thing. This
Um,
design is all yours.
yeah, the history of this table goes back quite a long ways, actually, in that we at Create have done a lot of work with the Okanese First Nation out near Belcarra, Saskatchewan. Our relationship with them goes back to 1992 when I first did a band office for Chief Marianne Daywalker. And Chief Marianne Daywalker holds the acknowledgement of being the longest running chief in Canada, as well as being one of the first female chiefs in Canada. So she has only recently stepped down after 40 odd years of being chief. And I met her, as I said, in 1992 and started working with her. And they've been a great supporter of our efforts. We've done more than 30 millions of dollars worth of work in it out there, but it's a relationship where the chief will just phone and say, "I need this, take care of it," and away we go. So in this situation, the band had a grant and had funding through social services for repatriation of families and reorientation of families. So what the nature of the building we were designing was repatriation to bring children out of foster care, put them back in with their maternal and paternal parents, their actual parents and their families and their grandparents on reserve, teach them how to be a family, really, and work with them in terms of counseling, but also give them space to gel as their own social entity as a family. So what we find with First Nations communities is they very much are a community. Everybody is your auntie, and everybody is your uncle, and everybody is your kokum, and everybody is integrated with each other, and it's a wonderful sense of community between the groups, between the various families. The building we built here for the table, not necessarily for that reason, but the building we built was the Home Fire Center, which is where people will come and learn how to be a family and learn how to gather within the Okanese First Nation um, for a new lifestyle. from this facility, they will move on as a family into their own home, and life goes on. So that's the plan. And as we were finishing the building, we were in this lovely space that we had constructed for them. It turned out really well. And they needed a table to gather, a table to sort of get the family and the counselors and get people around and commiserate with each other. And what we found is when I asked the chief what she's planning, she was going to call the business furnishings people or whoever and get a table. And we just said, no, that's not going to work. We will gift you a table based on the relationship that we've had for many, many years. This job came about in 2018, 2019. As I said, my relationship with them goes back to 1992. So with the long history with the band, a lot of research had been done over our various projects, and I had a fairly good understanding of the Okanese group. But what really came together on this table in terms of the design was both our integration of their iconography as well as the feedback that we got from the band. We did multiple designs for a table. What should it look like? What shape should it be? What should we have on it? And we had star blanket patterns, and we had various patterns. And the beauty of working with First Nations people, and one thing I very much appreciate, is they're honest. They're blunt, but they're honest. We would send them ideas, and one time we got a response that just said ugly. No, that pretty much tells you how they feel about that idea. So enough of that. As we came about with this table's design, using my unpluggable sketch pen, we sat down and basically did a whole bunch of different ideas on the First Nations, or what First Nations means, or the landscape, and a whole bunch of different things, and found a way to tie it all together. So the true nature of this table is rooted in the history of the Okanese First Nation band. In the 1800s, when the band was formed, it was formed by the union of 9 families. 9 families came together, First Nations families from various other groups, and decided that they wanted to create their own community. And those 9 families gathered around one of their members, who became Chief Okanese, and that became the Okanese First Nation. So the circles down the center point of the table itself represent the 9 families. Building on that, we sort of integrated the teepee form, which you can see on each side of the table. There's 4 on each side, which for the First Nations, the teepee shape, emblem, icon represents home. So we've integrated the home with the 9 families. This is walnut, right? The arc.
Yeah, you bet.
The walnut arc represents the horizon, the landform itself that the teepees are seated on. That disappears into the sky, which is the center light area of the table itself. So we've got that represented on both sides of the table. As well as building into the 9 families, we have a large circle that intersects the horizon, and then a secondary circle inside of it, part of the 9 families, but also part of the solar and lunar cycles that tie the First Nations people to the environment. A big part of the symbolism we built into the Home Fire Center, the building where this table resides, is on the exterior of the building. We placed markers of a teepee iconography that tie to the summer and winter solstice as you stand in a specific spot on the site, and it ties your vision to the elements around. So what this table really does is it ties the celestial elements of the stars, the moon, and the sun in the sky to the horizon, with the home fire areas integrated to it. So we found that we could integrate all these elements together. And when we sent it to the elders, it was a little bit more complex than the final drawing was. And they came back and said, there's a bit too much. We need to sort of simplify it a bit, but we like the basis of where you're going with this. And that's where the simplification came into being. And then we got the final design for the tabletop. The other element that's not shown in this picture is the base. Now, it was a very heavy table that well, you built, so you know how heavy it is.
You're telling me.
So we ended up designing a tubular steel base that we had a local steel fabricator create for us. And cut into the apron of that base is the outline of a bison, which is the trademark of the Okanese First Nation, is a bison. They actually have live bison out on their ranches, and they cultivate them, and every year one of them gets sacrificed, but they have more coming along the way. But no, they have a very strong culture and a very strong tie to the bison, and that became a part of the apron of the table, which the bison is holding up the table while standing on the earth, which is centered around the home fire center that the whole thing is built into. So um, there's a lot of symbolism that's built into the table without being what I would call pastiche or a caricature of the icons that they use, or what we want to do is pay homage to the First Nations culture, which I am obviously not a member of, but I've worked with them quite a while. And the one thing that Marianne does say, which I take as a compliment, is that Kurt, he listens. So I take that as coming from her. That's a very strong compliment that I actually do hear what they're saying. Placing the table, when we finally got it out to the site and had it in place and screwed it together and turned it and everything, everybody loved it. It is it's taken root within the building itself. It's a part of the building. And the one thing that's quite neat is everybody who works in the building considers this their table now. It wasn't something Brian built. It wasn't something Kurt designed. This is our table. And yes, some guys brought it here for us, but it's our table. It's who we are. So it's our table.
That's
So
so
I
awesome to
think
hear
that
that they've
that sort of
taken ownership of it in
they've
that way
taken
so
complete
strongly.
ownership. This is our table. In fact, if you showed up and said I built it, they would probably challenge you on that.
Well, that's certainly how it felt when I was building it. This is my table. And when I'm showing folks that I meet for the first time, when I tell them I build furniture and they're asking me, show me pictures of what you got, and I'm flipping through things, this table is one that always stands out. People see this and they're always amazed. They want to know more about it. But you made the point that you listen. Folks like hanging out and working with you because you listen. Clearly, that's an incredibly thoughtful design that so much has gone into the iconography and the way that it's laid out on that table, which certainly was a challenge for building and stretched my skills, skills that I didn't have when I first looked at the design that you've got here. But one of my favorite parts of building big tables like this is knowing that there's going to be groups of people that are going to gather around this beautiful table. And there's just no end to the amazing things that can happen when groups of people get together around beautiful tables like this. So you're saying that it is now in a building where families are getting back together that weren't before, and this is kind of a centerpiece in a room where people are spending time together.
Yes, this is a central gathering table of the families to come back together. On the basis of this table is representative of the foundation of the Okanese First Nation.
It meant so much to be able to build this, and I knew it was an important piece as I was working on it. But to hear this and to know that that's where that table lives and that's what it's doing right now, that just really means a lot to have been involved in this and to know that it's going to have a great life of reconnecting people and helping our First Nations brothers and sisters, spend time with the people that they should be spending time with, their families. That's really incredible.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did a great job. There's a lot of detail that you brought to the table, which I appreciated. One of the things that we like working with, I'll say, artisans on is bringing in your ideas and looking at what we can or can't do. My original plan for the table had the sun tucked in behind the horizon. You were the one that said it should be in front. And actually looking at this now, that does work. It brings that centerpiece out even more. Granted, you had a few other suggestions, which I said no. So I mean, that's just part of a working relationship. But I mean, what it comes down to is I can have any idea, and you were the one that had to pull it off, which you did in spades. But it was a matter of working together to say. I remember there were quite a few times driving by the garage to say, "Come on in, let's get out here. We need to look at this. We need to look at that." And working together to really pull it off. And the one example I give about the care and attention that's brought to the table is if you look at the grains down the center circles, they're all aligned, and that's representative of someone who takes care and pride in what they're doing. to make sure that happens. Your average person, quite honestly, Brian, would just cut a circle and lay it in and not even look beside it to see how does it relate. Not even look down the table to see how does this flow. They would just go circle, 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 circle. Done. Good. Yep. Good. And you would lose that kind of coherence. You would lose that integrity that this honestly looks like it's the same piece of wood beneath all those circles.
Oh, when such thoughtful design comes across my workbench, you want to give it the same attention and the same thoughtfulness when you're putting it together. And that was really important to me to make sure that those were going to line up in that way, where it does kind of look like it's one piece underneath there. And also with the cherry, which is represented in the teepee shapes, making sure that all that is actually flowing in the same direction with those as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's attention to detail that creates a beautiful piece as opposed to a nice table. That's the difference.
it's really exciting to hear that the table. I'm sure it's getting all sorts of love and use where it is, and sounds like it's being really appreciated by the folks who have got it now, and that's really cool. It's you spend a lot of time alone working on a project like this, and to know that it's spending so much time with so many people around it enjoying it is really special. It's really neat to hear that.
It is nice. I mean, I feel for you. I'm laughing right now because you spent so much time building your baby. And then I showed up in a 1976 pickup truck with a bunch of blankets to say, I'm here to take the table. And you said, what? In that? And I kept the truck running. And you said, do you want to turn off the truck? And I said, no, it might not start if I do that. We better not. And you said, you're taking this in that? And I said, yeah. So sorry about that. But
Yeah, it was a little weird seeing that truck show up to take the thing away after so much time and attention went
I
into all
know
the detail work on the thing. But
I still got the truck if that's any consolation.
hey, well, the fact that the truck is still running is kind of
You
amazing. So
bet.
the truck is
Absolutely.
going, the table is still going. Kurt, I really appreciate you taking a few minutes to go into the design detail of this project. It was really neat to learn a little bit more about the history of the piece after having spent so much time with it already. But it's neat to just know where it is and what it's doing now.
Yep.
And it was really great to be a part of that. And I'm honored that you would entrust that work to me. And hopefully, like I say, people are enjoying it now. I appreciate you taking some time and talking about that table.
My pleasure. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Kurt. Take care.
Okay. We'll talk
Thanks.
soon. Bye.